Recently, there's been this kind of crazy trend among people who want women to be as skinny as possible. It's known as the thigh gap. So basically, women put their legs together and they're supposed to have like a gap in their thigh, like where their crotch is. I've never really understood the appeal of that, but apparently it's a thing that people like. Now, Barbell Denim actually wants to fight back against that trend because obviously it's an unrealistic expectation. It pushes the notion that you should starve yourself to try to achieve this unrealistic expectation. So they started a Kickstarter to get people to donate their anti-thigh gap jeans. Their initial goal was to raise $15,000. You want to know how much money they actually raised? $735,000. Wow. Obviously, this is something that spoke volumes to a lot of people out there. I bet both men and women, because the notion that women should be extremely skinny is not something that a lot of guys are into, believe it or not. So I love this. I love that this happened. And apparently, the quote from the co-founder said the following: "These are the anti-thigh gap jeans. Athletes work hard for their strong, meaty thighs, and they should be proud of them. It's how human beings were built to function." Leanne, what do you think about this? Make your point.
Well, you know, I was a model growing up, and I was one of the more voluptuous models, and I modeled for Fredericks of Hollywood, so I was in lingerie. And let me tell you, when I first came into LA and I was a young girl, all the girls, I swear to God, were anorexic with fake boobs. And, you know, I remember my agent calling me and going, "Hey, you know, they really loved you, but on the next shoot, can you lose 10 pounds? And I just remember thinking, I told my agent, I go, "Nope, I'd rather stop modeling before I stop eating." Yep. And so I just said, "Yeah, go ahead, tell him." And I just didn't do anything different. I went back and I was like the same exact person, but it was right at the time that like J-Lo was hitting the scene. Nice. And the big booty was sort of in. So it went away from that Kate Moss sort of anorexic look. But you know, that whole like the thigh gap thing has been going on for a long time. Yeah. And I think that just social media has made it more prevalent, but everybody's always talked about having the gap between the thighs, which almost nobody has a gap between their thighs. Right. And you know, I'm older now, I just had a baby, and my husband loves me more now and loved me pregnant more than he ever did when I was a really thin model.
And that's because you got a good man.
Yeah. Exactly, and he's a good man. But you know, it's just ridiculous that we like the norm that is put in front of our face is all of these fashion magazines that's all been airbrushed and it's photoshopped and it's completely changed. They change your eye color. I mean, I've been on the cover of magazines and they change my eye color. You know, my body looks half the size it is in real life, and I'm like, really?
That's the way it works, man. That's the unrealistic expectation of beauty.
How do you think young girls could not like want to emulate that when that's all they've seen their entire lives?
Yep.
It's sad.
Well, it's interesting because I didn't know this was a thing until a guy had mentioned that about me, that I didn't have the thigh gap, and I was like, why? Why would I? I mean, what is actually attractive about that? And I was coming from a different sort of cultural standard of aesthetics. For me, I just grew up around, you know, I mean, my family didn't necessarily adopt like a white cultural aesthetic or an Arab one, but I just learned to love my body as it was. Right. And it was just, it was kind of dumbfounding to me. Maybe it was coming from an athletic background that I had, that I just realized that there was muscle there, right?
Yeah. Oh,
and it wasn't.
I
know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what's interesting about this story is, what is this company doing new that something like apple bottom jeans wasn't doing, right? I mean, so I'm trying to like
just different marketing.
Yeah, and around that, or like for me, every jean is an anti-thigh gap jean.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I've had to find such a difficult fight to find those jeans. What companies will actually make something that fit in different sort of proportions for the female body?
Yeah, these jeans though, they do make them bigger, and I did have this problem growing up, that to fit my thighs and my butt, the waist was really big, and they did say that they're making them for they're like, you know, for the small waist that all these athletes work towards.
That's great. I mean, I love that. You know, the point that I want to make about this is just a symptom of a much bigger issue. And it not only impacts women, it impacts men as well. Yes. We all have unrealistic expectations of the other gender or the same gender, you know, depending on what your sexuality is. And so, you know, I'm on Instagram, And the most popular Instagram profiles are of women who have massive
Oh my
butts,
gosh.
right? And
Yes.
it's because they work out and they do the squats and they have these big booties. And like every time I see those, I feel
follow some of
really,
those girls.
I know, I feel kind of bad about
like, oh
myself
my
because I work
God.
out and I'm just not built that
Right,
way.
exactly.
But we all have these crazy unrealistic expectations. I think the trick is to just love yourself for who you are, eat healthy, exercise, be healthy. And health doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a particular size.
That's
It comes
exactly
in
right.
all sizes. All right, so here's the question. Have you ever been on a crazy diet to meet one of those expectations?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I think we've been dieting our entire lives. I don't think there was ever a time that I put something in my mouth, even as a young girl, and didn't think, oh, I probably shouldn't be eating this ice cream sundae. I mean, you know what I mean? Every day. But even just recently, like 5 years ago, I was reading a book called Skinny Bitch. My girlfriend had it. I read it all in one night, and I was like, I'm going to go vegan. And gluten-free all at once. And I did. Literally the next morning I woke up, I went vegan. I was gluten-free for like 4 years. I mean, it was just gnarly. I felt great and I felt better. I started eating meat again when I got pregnant because I just had those cravings and I went back to it. But, you know, I thought in my mind, oh, this could be something. I can lose weight.
Yes.
I can be healthy. It was like all of it. But I did have the thought that, oh, I could lose weight and be thinner. I mean, it's still there.
Yeah,
It's so sick. And
everyone deals with it.
and even though I look at like Cindy Crawford in a magazine, my body will never be hers. Like you said, you can do a million squats and our butt is not going to be like that girl on Instagram. It's just not.
It's
and
just
once we
not.
accept that, we're okay.
Right. Paradoxically, what's really interesting is when I was calorie and fat conscious, and also calorie and fat conscious when I was working out, not just with my diet as well, I realized I was in this roller coaster. Like I was in this hamster roller coaster of, okay, up a couple pounds this week, down a couple pounds this week. How do I maintain? And then this is interesting. I decided to take a year off of exercising and thinking about my calorie intake, and I realized that I actually ended up losing a little bit of weight.
Probably because you were happy.
Well, it's also, you do have an added amount of stress, and stress does release cortisol in the body. So what is that? Right. So, but what I've actually started to do, ironically enough, and I've kind of maintained this weight that I love, this body that I love, is that I've really just looked at what are whole foods, where are the foods coming from, like
no package,
right?
The
Preservative, just things coming from places that I know they're coming from. So things that aren't coming from big agribusiness industrial companies. And I do yoga, and that's it.
I had a very similar experience to yours. I mean, I used to do kickboxing, CrossFit. I mean, all these exercises that I hated, like boot camp classes.
And you would count the minutes.
I would count the minutes. I would, focus way too much on what I was eating, how often I was eating, how much I was eating, and I just wasn't at the weight that I was happy with. And then I don't know when it happened, but I just decided to stop caring and just eat when I'm hungry. And some people are gonna like do an eye roll because I know, sometimes you're hungry all the time, but eat a little bit and just try to eat the whole foods that you're mentioning.
If
and
you
also
eat the right foods, you're not going to be hungry all the time.
Yeah, and also another thing is find exercise that you actually enjoy doing. Don't buy into the fads. Like I hate CrossFit. I'm not going to do it. I hate boot camp. I'm not like a big weightlifter. So I like yoga and I like running. That's what I do.
Do those fun like 5K Spartan races where you can dress in a tutu, have all your girlfriends, no matter if they run or not, and everybody can do it and they help each other. It's fun. It gets you off the couch.
And I want to know what the audience thinks. Have you guys been on a crazy diet? I want to hear about it. Tell me what your experience is. And if you're in good shape, what the hell are you doing to stay in shape? We all want to know about it. Yes, and we will see you guys soon.